Hi, welcome to my podcast, Becoming a Cut Flower Grower. I'm your host, Lydia, and I'm here to share my year of growing and selling cut flowers. I'll be giving you the lowdown on everything I'm doing and sharing all the highs and lows, the good times and the inevitable disasters, all in real time. Join me on my cut flower journey, starting right now. Hello and welcome. It's Tuesday, the 29th of July 2025, and a very warm welcome to the latest episode. It's a beautiful evening up here on the plot. The sun is just it's not setting yet. We've got another hour or so, a couple of hours actually, but it's kind of watery and it's just beautiful. It makes everything look so cute, and the chickens are having their tea right in front of me. And I thought I'll come up and record up here tonight for a change and get a bit of work done as well. So thank you if you sent me a message after my last episode about perimenopausing your way through starting up a cut flower business. It was very nice to hear from you. And I hope it didn't frighten anybody to death. That was not my intention at all. And it's very much my personal experience. So I had quite a busy weekend, making the most of the new area that I had all the turf lifted, and the soil is really not up to scratch. So everything that I've planted in, part of it has really, really struggled. And obviously things that I've grown in areas that have been cultivated for a couple of years are doing fine. So it's very much a soil problem. And I've been quite slow actually developing that area because I really thought as soon as the digger man had lifted the turf, that was it. I jumped straight on it, and there have been so many other things to do that just hasn't happened. But there's kind of a bit of a quieter period now. I say quieter period, I've just done my biggest order so far, but it feels a bit more of a relaxed period at the moment. So I thought we'd make a start over the weekend, and we were going to put some new fence panels up and then put some chicken mesh down the base so that nobody can dig underneath it. I don't want any foxes or rabbits getting in or anything like that. But with all my plans, there's normally a whole stage of preparatory work that I have not factored in, which my other half pointed out. So we actually had to put some fence posts in before we could start with the panels. And that took quite a long time because the soil is obviously rock hard with the drought, and then you're down onto chalk very, very quickly. And luckily he's got all these tools that he brought with him and did it, and it was really hard back-breaking work. And while he was doing that, I was clearing all the thistles away, and I did feel quite guilty about that actually, because they were covered in bees, and I just thought, oh goodness, this is pretty tough. But I chopped and dropped, left everything on the floor so the bees can finish off with whatever is left. And so we've made great progress with that. And I have ordered the chicken wire, and it's already arrived. So that's ready to lay down. And then, would you believe it, when I was looking in one of the storerooms, I found a whole pile of chicken wire. But I think the new stuff's going to be an awful lot easier to use because it's pristine and it's exactly the right length, and it doesn't need tangling and, rubbish pulling out of it. So 25 quid well spent on a roll of chicken wire. So it was quite busy. And as I said, I had my biggest order ever, or to date, handed over on Friday. And then as I was driving into town the following day, I saw in the doorway of the church the displays that my lovely florist had made using some, not by any means all, of my flowers. But to see them in the doorway was a really moving experience. Actually, I nearly came off the road. I was so excited. And I took some photos, and then she sent me some photos of like close-ups so I could actually see my stems in there. And it makes me so happy to think that these little guys that I've grown from seed that didn't even exist a few months ago have gone to make somebody's wedding a really special day. And I don't think I'll ever get tired of that feeling, to be honest. I had a fellow grower come and collect some stems from me this morning, which is a first for me. And she needed a few extra little bits just to top up what she'd got. And we're already members of this WhatsApp group that I was added to that I told you about, but I hadn't met her. And she was absolutely lovely. We had a really, really nice chat this morning. So she came to the plot to collect and then came to have a wander around. And it was amazing to just be sharing stories with a fellow grower of what it's like and what her experience is and what mine's been like and the challenges and how she deals with things. And, you know, she had some really helpful advice for me as well. And then she's invited me over to her plot next week so that I can have a look around there, which is great. And then a few hours after that, that only happened this morning, but a few hours after that, she sent me a message from her Instagram account. And I hadn't made the link between this account that I follow that I absolutely love and the lady. And it turned out that, yeah, that's her Instagram account. That's her plot. And I've been liking all the photos for ages. And she's a very, very good photographer. And she's got a beautiful plot by the look of it. So I'm doubly excited to be going to have a look at that. It's wonderful to just see how other people do things. And she's very open and very warm and friendly and kind. And I just think I could learn a lot from her. And she was very generous with her time this morning. So I've also been contacting some more local florists in the hope that they will want to buy some stems as well. Nobody's got back to me yet. I'm not sure if I'm approaching it wrong or I'm doing something that's not quite right. So I do recognize that it's a really, really super busy time for florists at the moment. And everybody's got loads of weddings on and events and all the rest of it. So maybe it is not a good time that I'm contacting people. But the flip side of that is that I would love them to see the plot when there are plenty of things going on. It would be pointless if they came in February, for example. So maybe it's a timing issue, or maybe they just don't like what they see from my Instagram, or I'm just pitching it wrong. I'm not sure. I'm going to ask my fellow grower next week and pick her brains on that. Because there are all these lovely stems, and I just feel like if the florists could see them, we're kind of halfway to being able to supply them. So I've got a new pest problem on the plot, which has only happened in the last 10 days or so. I've got little tiny rats running around, which is never a good sign. I think they're rats, either that or they're really big mice, but they did look like baby rats to me. So if you're a regular listener, you'll know I did have rats here because there's chickens and there's always bits of food that they miss and they scratch some places and then the bits go in the nettles and they can't get them, but the rats can. And then because I was so strict about food and covering the waters and restricting when the chickens eat and stuff, all the rats moved next door. And then the next door neighbours had a problem, which they were then putting poison down. And then about 10 days ago, suddenly the rats moved back here. So the rats are, I mean, they're not stupid. They've clearly worked out that something is going wrong with their friends and family when they have dinner next door. And so they'll probably give it a miss and they'll be like, let's just move back to the chickens. So they've all moved back and I can see them running around. But when I went into the plot a couple of days ago, I noticed that my apple tree was very upright and bouncy and lovely looking instead of somewhat bedraggled. And that's because something, and I'm blaming the rats here, I guess it could have been squirrels, something has taken every single small apple from that tree. And it's only a juvenile tree anyway. And I've only had it a couple of years. And this was the first year that I've had a bumper crop. And that's why all the branches are now pointing up, because they don't have any heavy apples on them at all, because there's not a single apple left. I'm really, really disappointed about it. And the other thing that they've eaten in the last few days is all of my ornamental grass row. I had a whole row of Brisa maxima, which I sowed. And their heads had just kind of turned this lovely buttery yellow colour, and I thought they'd be incredible because they're dry as sticks. And I thought they'd be amazing for like selling for bud vases and stuff. But every single one of those has been eaten. So that was disappointing. But on the plus side, I did manage to dig them up and plant some rudbeckias that I had in pots in that space. And it's an area of the plot where the soil is really, really good. So the rudbeckias are already loving that. But it's just a bit disappointing, and there's no way I can keep the rats off the plot. So I'm just hoping they don't go for anything more valuable next. The potted lavender saga continues. I bet you thought that was all over with me handing them over to the florist on Friday, but no, I'm going to pick them up tomorrow because they were only on hire for the wedding, which I'm not sure whether I said or not, but apparently it's a thing. You can just hire plants out. So I had bought them and then they were hired out. I mean, I did know this. I'm not saying I didn't know that I'd hired them out. Of course, I knew I'd hired them myself, but I don't think I'd mentioned it. So they were hired out, and also the pots were hired out. So I am going to go and pick them up tomorrow and then work out what to do with them. So I think I'll probably plant them on the plot, certainly for the rest of the summer. And in the autumn, winter, I might lift them and keep them in the greenhouse over the winter because they're the French lavender type, not the sort of tough other lavenders you get like angustifolia and hidcote and all of that. And I don't want them to freeze and just die over the winter. So they are rejoining the family tomorrow. Now, the zinnias on the plot are really going for it at the moment, and I've cut quite a few stems. They are gorgeous, very, very bright colours. Disappointing, really, with the colours. I mean, I watch a lot of, or I follow, oh, hey, Moland. I follow a lot of American Instagram farmers, and I'm all right, Moland. I'm absolutely blown away at the zinnias that you guys have in the States. I just can't believe like how enormous they are, and the colors and like all the pastels and everything. And I have yet to find a supplier in the UK. I just don't think we have them here. And I know some people are smuggling in like floret seeds and everything. So maybe I'll have to get my thinking cap on and work out how to do that. But yeah, the ones I've got, I mean, the colours are wonderful. If you like hot colours, and I'm hoping that now as we move into a more late summer autumnal kind of vibe, that the hot colours will be more desirable. Pastels are very much, spring, early summer. And I was pleased that the plant spacings that I did for the zinnias worked out to be fine, because when you put them in the ground, they all look like they're far too far apart. And I've had some issues with plant spacings this year already. But with the zinnias, I was spot on. And they branch a lot and they kind of fill out the space. And they're all doing very, very well. So that's great. I have still got sweet peas and cornflowers available for cutting, which is quite amazing, and probably testament to the amount of deadheading of the cornflowers I've done. So, definitely made a loss on those, but it's actually really nice at the end of July to still be selling cornflower stems. I sold stems this morning and they're looking lovely. Especially the new batch, that's batch number 2, which has come on. They've still got that quite intense blue, whereas batch 1 is a very slightly paler blue now. And most of the first flush of cruspedia, which is the little yellow golf balls on sticks, they have all sold, which is really, really nice, because I've made such a big deal about them and I was so excited to get them. And the last of the first flush went off this morning, and I'm hoping that the plants will put up some new stems. I don't really know what to expect, but I'm just hopeful that they will. And the cephalaria is the only thing really, well, I say the only thing, it's not the only thing. It's one of like 3 things that have done absolutely nothing. I mean, one was the Amimagus, which didn't grow over 10 centimeters, so only suitable for bud vases. The stocks, which have done absolutely diddly squat. In fact, it feels like they've gone backwards. But the cephalaria has also done virtually nothing, or it's just growing incredibly, incredibly slowly. And that is the giant scabious, and it's a kind of buttery yellow colour, which would have been absolutely spot on for this year, because it's just felt like everybody wanted yellow this year. Or because I'm a novice, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe everybody wants yellow every year. I just didn't think that yellow was a thing, but I just wanted to grow the cruspedia because I thought they looked cool. So the cephalaria are just tiny, and maybe they'll do something next year. But Achillea the pearl, that was also a perennial like the cephalaria, and I didn't think they would flower year 1, and they're just going great guns, like totally unstoppable. So I mean, they're all different, right? But it's just that the one that I thought was going to do something has done nothing, and the one I didn't have any expectations of has just gone crazy. Planning has already started for next week's wedding. So at the moment, I don't have a wedding that I'm supplying to this weekend, but there is one the following weekend, and I'm looking forward to getting the colour scheme for that. And well, I know what the colour scheme already, but Jo sends me, a more detailed thing of what she's looking for, and then I can fit in around that. So that will be nice. And I think that's actually all happening a day earlier than normal. So I'll have to make a note of that. So that's pretty much been everything that's been going on. Shirley Bassey is still sitting on her 2 eggs, and I have tried to candle them and see if I can see what's happening inside the egg, but the shells are very, very dark brown. So one of the eggs is actually Goose who had a bum lift, and the other one is Piggy's egg. And because the shells are so dark, I can't really see inside what's going on. So we're just waiting until Monday, Tuesday of next week, and then we'll just find out. And I really hope for Shirley's sake that there are babies inside, because she is absolutely dedicated to the cause, and she is so excited and just committed to it that all right, Moland, it'll break my heart if there's no babies inside, because she's been sitting for what feels like forever. So that's that. And the babies have grown up enormously. In fact, I saw Moland and Lion having a little practice fight the other day, which is all fun and games when they're babies and they're just messing around and working out how their feathers and, what their moves look like. And then one day they'll just wake up and do it for real. So we need to get ahead of the curve on that one. And Moley needs to have his own little enclosure, I think, with a couple of nice, gentle girls that are going to look after him and help him out with his eyesight and his hearing issues. So that's another job to be sorted out. And that's everything from me today. So I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope you have a good rest of the week. And I will be back on Friday with another episode, as always, to update you on what's been going on and how I've got on this week and what's new. So I very much hope that you will come back and join me for that. Until next time.